The artist formerly known as the Oakland Athletics series versus the Mariners is ongoing. The Mariners took game one. Joe and I are going to briefly talk about games 2 and 3 and what happened in game one. But in this episode of the podcast, we're really going to break down the Mariners trade rumors, what Jerry Dipoto has said about this team, and our predictions for what the team is going to do over the next 48 to 72 hours. Keep in mind, Joe and I are going to have a big live stream on Thursday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So be sure to be there for that, covering the trade deadline. But this is episode 212 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav network, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review, like, subscribe to this YouTube channel. And this is, Joe, the Ichiro Suzuki episode of the podcast. Obviously, Ichiro inducted into the Hall of Fame on Sunday. Great job, great speech. His speech was awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously a very cool moment for Mariners fans. And Sunday was also Joe's birthday. So the Joe Lacey episode
I'm not
of
putting
the
it.
podcast. You're putting it in there.
I'm cutting it right there. If you wouldn't shout out your own birthday, I'm not letting you shout out mine. It was Colton's birthday, the day that Naylor got acquired. You can thank Colton for the Mariners acquiring Naylor on his birthday as a birthday present there. Mariners present to me was Ichiro getting inducted. The Mariners just care so much about us, you know? Do the Mariners know about Mariner Mojo? Do you think they know that we exist?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're important people. Pretty important. Not as important, though, as Luis Castillo on the mound in game one of the Athletics series. Listen, 7 innings. A vintage Castillo start. He looked good. I mean, he was schleichen and deutschen up there. He looked comfortable. In a AAA park where, you know, some things could have gone poorly. I mean, the amount of times the Mariners hitters yanked the ball foul down the left field line.
That was so frustrating.
The Athletics have the ability to do that too. But Castillo did not allow them to really, you know, get into their groove there. A complete win. Josh Naylor, first time talking about Naylor on the pod, hit his first home run today off of a lefty, no less. Heck the splits. Heck the righty lefty splits. I really like Naylor. He's looked awesome. He's been getting more stolen bases than I think anybody would have expected, which is just kind of funny.
He's just a competitor, man. He literally said, like, I just like to win, and he's come here and he's shown that he wants to win. He has created havoc everywhere he's been, so it's been a lot of fun to watch him.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy that he's in a Mariners uniform. Obviously, the home run in this game, and then Garver hits a long fly ball for the second run, and then Cal drives in the third run in this game. The other hero of game one is definitely Ben Williamson. His glove specifically. He did get 2 hits, but his glove and his reaction time and his ability on the dirt. I mean, he looked like a stud out there.
Yes, he did. Listen, all right. I love Ben Williamson. He should not be your starting third baseman come Thursday, but he should be on this team. He should be a defensive replacement late in games. I think that's more than okay. But until he can learn how to lift the ball in the air, he should not be getting 4 or 5 at-bats every single night. Because his ground ball rate is insane. It's 60%. That is not the Ben Williamson that the Mariners thought they were getting when he got called up. He was a guy that he never hit the ball like hard in the air. I mean, sorry, he never hit like fly balls, but he hit the ball hard on a line in the minor leagues. And unfortunately, he just hasn't been doing that. And I think that next year, you know, if he's doing it, then great. Then have him be your third baseman. He cannot be your third baseman coming out of this trade deadline. But we'll talk about the trade deadline here in just a second. We have 2 more games to talk about here in this athletic series. On Tuesday, Logan Evans is on the mound versus Luis Severino. What?
Nothing.
Whoa. Oh, this feels like a trap start. Severino's been pretty bad. He has a 4.95 ERA with 92 strikeouts. Evans, 3.64 with 43 strikeouts. But in that ballpark, this feels like a trap. Obviously, the Athletics have yet to face Logan Evans versus Luis Severino. Jorge Polanco has a home run in 12 ABs, but no one else has really seen him all that well. So, I don't know. Mariners, I feel like they can win that start if the offense gets going, but I think it's going to take, 4, 5, 6 runs at least.
Yeah, I think they'll need to be a bit more have a bit more forward run producing opportunities in game 2. No discredit to Logan Evans. I think he's pitched the majority well this season, but like you said, it's a trap start. Pitching in a AAA park is always going to be infinitely harder than pitching in a major league park, just based on the offensive output that can happen. And with Evans, sometimes the swing and miss stuff isn't always there, and we know that the Athletics lineup has a lot of young, talented players, which can be like a double-edged sword for them. They can pop off. Nick Kurtz had one of the best offensive games in our lifetime just last week, but then, can come crashing down to earth, and that's just the way that baseball works sometimes. I do feel good with the Mariners getting game 1, setting the tone. You did use Spire, Brash, Munoz in this game, so yes, you could probably have them go back-to-back if need be. I think maybe Brash the most likely, just based on how many pitches he threw, but I think Munoz had a really, really efficient inning as well. So it's like they could be available, but I think you'd rather be in a spot where you don't have to use them. Duh. Because that means you have a big lead. And that would set you up for a sweep for the final game on Wednesday with your best starting pitcher in 2025 on the bump. By and large, your best. Castillo's, he's starting to make some waves. Gilbert, if he continues to, we'll see. We'll see if he can lock in those like innings 1 through 4. Gilbert might be in contention for Brian Wu, but we know he's throwing 6 innings on Wednesday against the Athletics opposite Jeffrey Springs, another lefty. So the lineup you saw in the first game on Monday, you'll probably see that again on Wednesday, would be my guess, unless there are some additions made to it on Tuesday and they report to the club as early and quickly as Naylor did. Kind of unlikely at that point. I know, like last year when we traded for Randy, it took him 3 days to report.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this last, Naylor, we traded for him the next day he was playing. So that's again yet to be seen of whether or not certain moves will be made by that point in time. But I like the Mariners' chances with the way that they've looked, how they played in Sacramento earlier this year, just in general. Wu on the mound feels good.
And the Athletics have been hot. Just take 2 of 3 in this series, and I'm more than happy with that. The Athletics just swept the Astros. They mopped the Astros. Mariners gained a game on everybody on Monday, by the way. Mm-hmm. Yankees lost, Astros lost, Rangers lost.
And Mariners
gained a game. Did they end up losing?
I think so.
I know they were in a rain delay, so I don't know what happened with that. Doesn't matter. Who cares? We're talking about the division, baby. So yeah, the Mariners are making up some ground, man. They went out there and they've made the big addition so far at this trade deadline. And it looks kind of like they're gearing up to continue that. And Jerry Dipoto said as much when he said the Mariners are going to be aggressive in the back end relief market going into this trade deadline. And there's been some names that have been thrown around. Of course, Emmanuel Clase was one of them. That's probably not a thing anymore. For those of you that don't know, just go search Emmanuel Clase bet. But Joan Duran is still a fit. Griffin Jacks is still a fit. David Bednar, Pete Fairbanks, Ryan Helsley. There's plenty of guys that make a lot of sense for this team. I said on stream, Joe, I would be shocked if the Mariners do not add at least one high leverage arm, and a good one at this deadline, like a name that we've heard. Like one of those five guys I just said, I think one of them will be a Mariner come Thursday.
Yeah, I think and again, it was stuff like Jim Bowden posted on socials today and talking about Jerry Dipoto and being all bought in for the deadline. And our resident prospect hugger accent said on Twitter, reply guy accent, Jerry said this when they stood pat. Listen, if you want to hug prospects more accent, be our guest, pal. Okay, I'm joking. It is a lot of I'll believe it when I see it. I am with you in the sense of I have no reason to believe. Now I'm contradicting myself. I have reason to believe because there have been iterations of this, of trade deadlines where they talked a big game and didn't maybe The trades just didn't materialize how we had hoped. This does not feel like the season, nor the timing, with the prospect capital that you have, where a trade will not materialize. They will make it happen. They will produce them out of thin air if need be. Another name that is mentioned in like trade rumors articles and linking, a name that's been thrown around in our chat a fair amount, is Danny Colum. Colom. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it off the top of my head. Lefty from the Twins. If they want to go out and get another lefty, I think that'd be great. We thought we were getting another lefty with Brandon Garcia, and then he got shipped off to Arizona. May he have a great career in Arizona. Felt like he could be a long-term back end of the pen potential type guy when it's all said and done. But getting another lefty that you could have in your pen is not a bad idea. I don't think it's as cut and dry or like as necessary as like the Javier Lopez era Giants, where you needed the lefty, the crafty lefty that you could just turn to and then sub him out for an innings pitch because of the way that the rules have changed. But needing Spire to get every lefty out more often than not is not always a winning formula, especially since he can't pitch every day. And they've said on the broadcast here that he's not just a lefty specialist, and I don't think Colum would necessarily be a lefty specialist either. Of the guys like on the trade market though, out of all the lefties, I can't think of another one that would be high leverage or higher leverage in that sense. But I do agree with you that they should come away with one of like the top 5 or 6 arms traded at this deadline. And I think they probably did or got close to it last year as well with Jimmy Garcia, that being on the lower end. And of course he got hurt. So like, and he, didn't necessarily pitch the greatest. I think getting a top 3 arm as far as relievers would be I would start chalking this up as like an A+ deadline.
Yep.
In
already.
my opinion. And I'd be okay. Ultimately, I would be okay if Naylor is the best bat that you got this deadline. In my opinion, I think that the offense, there are holes to upgrade. There's room for improvement. I think you already did that with Naylor. I think him being the 1A move and then the reliever being the 1B move, or the reliever being the 1A and then Naylor being the 1B, is something that I would be okay with. I don't think you're going to find a better bat than Naylor that's not named Eugenio Suarez at this deadline. And with him getting hit on the hand by Will Vest, former Mariner alert, weird on both sides. I know. Crazy. What does that mean for him? Yes, the x-rays came back negative. That's not necessarily to say that it won't impact his swing for a week and a half, 2 weeks. Doesn't matter, right? Also, the asking price being astronomical, apparently, for Gino. And maybe a lot of the trade talks are being overblown. There's so much like nuance and intricacy with the Gino Suarez trade sweepstakes that, like you and I think a lot of other Mariners fans, go get Griffin Jax and Willie Castro. Go get Willie Castro and Joan Durant. Like that, to me, if you're trading a similar package, I think it would be not, whoa, dog barking. It's in the bushes. I wouldn't say malpractice if you traded the exact same package for Gino and Griffin Jax and Willie Castro, but you're getting much more value for the latter than just a half-year rental of Gino. So
let's talk a little bit about what that asking price is rumored to be for Eugenio Suarez. And now, obviously, like you mentioned, it's in a weird spot because he got hit on the hand. X-rays were negative. We'll see, how that goes. The rumored asking price was a close to MLB or MLB ready player, a top 100 prospect, and then a guy who's a little bit lower level in the minors, a younger guy. So for the Mariners, that could look like, and now I don't know if the Diamondbacks would want a guy like Dom Canzone back, right? But it could be like Tyler Locklear as that like guy who's not a top 100, but whatever, you get the point. Tyler Locklear, one of like Senja or Sloan, because I'm sure they want a pitcher. And then you could look at, I don't know who's, like if you want to go with a lottery ticket, like a Yorker Bautista or a Kendry Martinez or something like that, sure. If that's the asking price for a Eugenio Suarez, like would I do it? Probably. I wouldn't be happy about it. I wouldn't be over the moon because, again, I think Locklear has a chance to be a piece for you next year. And if you're gonna trade him, I would like to get somebody a couple of months. Sanger or Sloan, obviously, we kind of know where we're at with them. Both guys could be a part of this rotation in the coming years. If you're looking at the Twins and you were to offer a similar package, Harry Ford is the guy. And you and I have talked about this quite a bit. You brought this up first. Is that the Twins probably need catching, and they added a catcher on Monday in a trade package with the Tigers where they traded Chris Paddock and Randy Dobnak for a 19-year-old catcher. But if you were to trade them Harry Ford, it still makes sense because he is probably MLB ready to go. He kind of replaces Locklear in that trade package. In terms of that top 100 prospect, he's also that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you go say, okay, maybe Kendry Martinez, whatever, Jeter Martinez, send him that way as well. The trade package obviously has to change, but I don't think that based on how it's now, if you're going for Joan Duran, that changes. I don't know if you had a chance, Joe, to watch my video that I posted today, but the closest comp that I could find to a Joan Duran trade was the Jason Adam trade last year, where they had 2.5 years of club control.
Okay.
They traded the Padres, that is. They traded number 74 on the top 100 prospects list, which closest to that is Durangelo St.
Mm-hmm.
They traded their number 8 prospect as well, and they traded their number 16 prospect. So 3 guys in their top 20 for Jason Adam, who obviously is still with the Padres. I could see that happening in a deal for Joan Duran and Willie Castro. Now, I don't love Willie Castro as an addition. We've talked about this. He's not my favorite guy to go out there and add, but he is a more consistent bat than Ben Williamson, and he can play kind of all over the field. So it makes a little bit of sense. So just where is your head at right now with a potential Twins trade?
For that specifically, keeping in mind what Jason Adam costs to acquire for the Padres from Tampa Bay, you okay over there? Thumbs up. We're good, chat. You said the number 74 top 100. I think Duran could fetch someone in the top 50, and they've mentioned that the asking price is 2 top 100 guys. If you go on the higher end there, it's someone in the top 50 for the Mariners. Of course, we're entering untouchable territory for a lot of people. If we're being very honest with ourselves, you're not trading Colt Emerson in this situation. You're not going to trade Lazaro Montes, I don't think. Of the top prospects in the top 50 for the Mariners right now, outside of Colt Emerson and Lazaro Montes, it is Harry Ford. And I know the Twins have Ryan Jeffers. He is under club control through next season. So if, say, they trade for Harry Ford, they have Christian Vasquez right now, who has a 48 WRC+. He's terrible. He is on an expiring contract. If there's a trade to be made where another team gets catching depth that's a contender that maybe could use the services of a Christian Vasquez, of a guy who's kind of been there, obviously the Astros, he was there in 2022. He was there. That's a guy that maybe there's a little bit of veteran presence that a team could be interested in. That clears up Harry Ford to go be the catcher 2-3 times a week in Minnesota this year behind Ryan Jeffers. And by the time that he's done being club controlled, Harry Ford's the full-time catcher in Minnesota. Even if they do not trade Ryan Jeffers this trade deadline, which, again, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Twins do that too, seeing that they can get their catcher for the future from the Mariners potentially in a trade that's going to, give the Mariners Duran or Jax and then Willie Castro. They could trade Jeffers and recoup value there, because if the Twins obviously aren't going to be in it this year, why? I don't know. It's a whole bag of worms what teams want. It's hard to know exactly what teams need as well, unless it's stated very explicitly, like the Diamondbacks wanting young pitching. If I'm trading for Joan Duran, I have to be comfortable with giving up 2 top 100 prospects pretty safely, in my opinion. And if that is Harry Ford and then anyone else other than Ryan Sloan, Colt Emerson, and Lazaro Montes, I think I'm okay. Because what it ultimately does is you get Duran until through 2027, correct? He's a free agent 2028. You get a guy that is going to be a three-headed monster, permitting that everyone is healthy at the back end of the pen with Matt Brash and Andres Munoz for the next 2.5 years. If that's not one of the best back end of bullpens in all of baseball, then color me silly. I don't know. Like, there's no refuting that. And yes, it's only a half season Willie Castro. You don't need him for longer than that because you're only getting him to supplement your roster, maybe a little bit of a spark plug for a postseason push to replace a Dylan Moore who has been on one of the worst stretches that we have laid witness to as a Mariners fan. And we've watched some pretty bad baseball players. Dylan Moore is on an incredibly bad streak. And there's not something I would wish upon any player. It sucks that he's performing poorly because it's ultimately going to lose him his job. And that's not something you ever want to have happen, especially on your team. But getting Willie Castro upgrades that position or upgrades third base and allows you to move some other stuff around. I have to be okay with trading away some pretty top level prospects in this situation. And I think the Mariners have to recognize that and that this is the perfect opportunity to do so when the American League wildcard has thinned itself out naturally, and there's really only 4 teams vying for 3 wildcard spots should everything kind of stick part of the course the rest of the year. There's not a random Tigers 2024 run waiting inside the belly of the beast of the AL Central, meaning the Guardians or the Royals. Because those are the 2 likely teams I think could potentially pour it on in the second half for whatever reason, and then make it more difficult for teams like the Yankees, the Rangers, the Red Sox, the Rays, and your Seattle Mariners. Now is the time to go in.
I don't know about the Guardians.
What do you mean? You wouldn't bet on it?
I wouldn't bet on it, personally. Yeah, I think I agree with basically everything that you said. Like, this is the time, if you're the Mariners, to go out there and make a move like this. Now, if they were to just say, just go get Willie Castro from the Twins, and then just go get Ryan Helsley, who is on an expiring contract as well, I'd be fine with that. I'd be okay with that because the Mariners have never shown, at least in recent years, have not shown a willingness to go out there and get guys on expiring contracts. They want guys for longer, and I understand that. Like, if you're trading with the Cardinals, I mean, I would love to have Brendan Donovan and Ryan Helsley. Probably not going to happen. But with the Mariners' willingness, if you will, that sounds like there is willingness anyway, to trade some of their top prospects, I think that any trade could happen. And I think that it could be one that surprises us. But Joe, I want you to predict what is going to happen. What will the Mariners do the rest of the way in terms of over the next 72 hours? Will they add at third base, and who will it be? And will they add as a reliever, etc.?
I just don't see the Geno thing coming to fruition anymore. I really don't. And that's probably going to disappoint a fair amount of people. But I would love, yeah, I would ultimately be disappointed by it too, not seeing Geno in a Mariners uniform for the remainder of 2025. I just don't see it happening given the willingness for other teams to be a little bit more aggressive, with the Brewers stepping into the mix there. The Cubs obviously being suitors. Tigers, it's a weird situation where things are getting overblown apparently. Like, I don't know. I'd give it like a 25% chance that Geno's in a Mariners uniform for in the second half, helping the team for a postseason berth. I think the most likely outcome is you go get Willie Castro, and I think Griffin Jax is more likely than Duran. I don't know how likely it is. Like, of the relievers from the Twins, I think it's Jax, Colomb, Duran. As far as likeliness that they end up in a Mariners uniform, just on the idea that Duran is going to be a really, really hard price to pay. Like, they will have to understand that that's just going to be a tough pill to swallow on some of the guys that you have to trade to get him. And I think Jax and Colomb are much cheaper in that regard. And I think outside of that, they go and get another reliever. Man, you're just going through it over there.
I really am, man.
A lower reliever, but one that is still a quality enough arm. Like, I think that they can go get another Jimmy Garcia even after. It's not Seth Halverson. It's a Sir Anthony Dominguez. I think Sir Anthony Dominguez is and there hasn't been many rumors surrounding that. Like, there hasn't really, like, I haven't seen his name come up in many trades at all. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Raisel Iglesias got brought up in the trade rumor stuff. David Bednar, like you mentioned, even though I think we're not really like mentioned in like the top mix of it, but I think any high leverage ish arm, you can expect the Mariners to kind of be floating around it, just like kind of like, hey guys, hey, just checking in,
Hey.
hey. And then Pete Fairbanks. I think Fairbanks would be, oh God, if they got like Jackson Fairbanks, or if they went Fairbanks and Colomb, like I think that's also really good. But I really think that they go get Castro and a reliever from the Twins, and then another reliever. I'll call it from the American League East, and either say Pete Fairbanks or Sir Anthony Dominguez. And I think that
Okay.
will end their deadline for the most part. They maybe like do some like small things. Like I don't know if they could trade Dylan Moore, or because that's
Yeah.
been mentioned that Jerry Dipoto's like, he's been available. Yeah, duh, he's awful. Like he's not playing well. Like of course you're gonna shop the guy to see if there's any value there for a team. And realistically, there could be. There's good defense there at multiple positions, decent defense, I think, at multiple positions, and then good legs for a pinch run situation. That's valuable to teams. It's just the Mariners have been putting him in spots where he's getting overexposed, and he's been struggling mightily because of it. Um, and that I think aligns with my thoughts around Naylor being the bat that you acquire. He's the best bat that you get this deadline. It's not the best bat available like last year when you got Randy Arozarena, but I think it is when you get Naylor and you get Castro. I think that that is relatively equivalent to you getting a Rosarena and Turner last year offensively. And you're already a better offensive team this year than you were last year. So I think like the offense upgrades, it's not going to be as drastic, but they didn't need to be as drastic. They could be if you went out and got Gino, but I really I think that ship has unfortunately sailed in my mind. Where are you? Like, what is your thoughts around? You said the next 72 hours.
Yeah, I think I'm in a pretty similar boat to you. I think Castro is the move, even though I'm not in love with it. I think that is probably the move. I will say, I do firmly believe they will go out there and add another starting pitcher.
Mm.
And when it comes to guys who maybe we haven't talked about, because that's how it's going to work. It's going to be someone that we didn't think about. I think it's going to be Zach Littell. I think that that's
Oh,
the guy the Mariners may like. And they might go get him to fill that fifth starter role. I think that's someone that makes some sense. Other guys that have been around the league, I mean, Raisel Iglesias is a guy who, until very recently, wasn't mentioned. And so that's just another option for the Mariners. Overall, I would prefer them to go out there and add at third base, maybe a tier above Willie Castro, but I just don't know if it's going to be available. If Naylor is the best bat the Mariners add at the deadline, that's fine because there's a really good chance he's the best bat that gets traded this trade season. And I think that if no team is willing to meet the price on Gino, that might be the case, truthfully.
mm.
I think that if the Mariners add at third base, add a couple relievers, one high leverage, and add a starter, this team is the favorite to win the division at that point.
Interesting. They'll skyrocket past the Astros, even if they do make some moves because Paredes' injury. Like I won't say it out loud, but we all know what I'm thinking. With Paredes being injured at third base, what that could spell at the deadline.
They
I
don't have
think
the prospect capital.
so. So prospects don't like Arizona's not necessarily looking for prospects. I don't
Oh.
think. I mean the whole hang up with the why the Mariners maybe aren't a great fit for them is that we don't have maybe the major league aspect of players that they're looking for. Could the Astros trade Arrighetti to Arizona as like part of like like that being like a bulk of the trade package going back to Arizona? Yes. And I think that they'd figure out pitching beyond that. For the Mariners, I don't know if they trust any of the other pitching. Like it seems like a lot of the times the Astros just kind of figure out. They'll just throw stuff at the wall until it sticks. If
Nothing bad's ever happened to that organization. So.
exactly. Whereas for the Mariners, if they traded Logan Evans, disarray, just panic would ensue. Understandably so, because that means more Emerson Hancock has to start. Or if they do get Zach Littell, maybe he's your 5. The idea that you want them to trade for a starting pitcher makes me believe that you think they're going to trade Logan Evans. or they'll trade Emerson Hancock, which would
Mhm.
signal to me that they got Geno in your head. Because I don't know if the Twins, I mean, I guess the Twins, if they're shopping Joe Ryan, but that has been weird. And, teams could always use young pitching, but controllable young pitching. And I don't know. Could Hancock or Evans be of interest to Minnesota in a twin with Duran or Jax and Castro coming back? Maybe. But if you're getting Zach Littell, I would just be very surprised if you didn't trade one of Evans or Hancock at the deadline.
Mm-hmm. And even if it's not necessarily in a deal for Eugenio Suarez, if you trade them in a deal to go, like, can you get Brendan Donovan? Like, would they want one of Logan Evans or Emerson Hancock? There was something I read today where Hancock had been discussed in trades, and I don't remember where I read it. I would be very interested. I honestly, I will be shocked if the Mariners hold on to both Evans and Hancock.
Interesting.
I'll be shocked. I think that one of them is gone at this deadline. I think they will add a starting pitcher. I really do. And I think they need to. Now, when you get into a playoff situation, obviously you only really need 4 starters. The Mariners have that. But when it comes to the Mariners prospect system, I believe they will trade. So of the top 30, I think they will trade 5 or 6 of the top 30 at this trade deadline.
Yeah,
And
I don't disagree.
And I think that, how many out of the top 10 are we losing? I say 2. I say 2 guys out of the top 10 are gone at this deadline. Just with the move, with how aggressive it sounds like the Mariners are going to be. Everything we've heard, every single thing we have been told or we have heard is that they are going to be aggressive. They're going to go out there and make the moves because they're going for it this year. And obviously that's going to extend into next year and the year after that. But this year, right here, right now, with the way the team has positioned itself, they're 3 games back of the Astros right now. The Astros are struggling. They have been horrible. I think that there's a real chance that they go out there and make a big move.
Just to preface as well, you're saying 2 guys in the top 10. I will name the top 10 right now, just for anyone who isn't super familiar with where the cutoff really is. And now keep in mind, this isn't including any of the 2025 draftees, and we will have a full prospect re-rank once the trade deadline passes and all the prospects have kind of moved. But for right now, Colt Emerson's 1, Lazaro Montes is 2, Harry Ford is 3, Michael Arroyo's 4, Ryan Sloan is 5, Felton Cellison is 6, Johnny Formello is 7, Jerangelo Senja is 8. All of those are top 100 prospects, Senja being the last at number 70. With just to keep it 100 with exactly where they're at. 8 in the top 70 is insane. Just throwing it out there. 9th ranked prospect Tyler Locklear. Very MLB ready prospect. Does he have a spot? Next year, maybe. If you extend Josh Naylor, probably not. If they Luis Castillo, Josh Naylor, I'm in. You know what I mean? I'm in. And then Ty Pete, 10th ranked prospect. Listed as a shortstop. We know he's not a shortstop anymore. He's playing center field. The Rays love Ty Pete. Are you trading him in a deal where you get Zach Littell and Pete Fairbanks? Probably. It's what he would be part of that package without a doubt in my mind. I don't disagree. You and I, it's almost to a fault, share brain cells, a couple of them here and there, however many we have left, and we usually end up being pretty agreeable. 5 or 6 in the top 30, 2 in the top 10. That's probably where I'm at as well. Maybe I'm a little bit higher on willingness to pull the trigger on some of the higher end guys, like trading like Ford and Arroyo to the Twins for Duran and Castro, and then you throw in like another piece in there somewhere. If it's Luke Raley, I don't know. Screw it. At this point, screw it. Go give yourself a chance. Because sometimes that's all it takes. Just get in, and that can be the biggest difference. That could be the difference maker.
And that's the scary thing with this team, is with how good the pitching staff can be. Just get in. Just get in, and if you add to that bullpen, your pitching staff can take you through the playoffs. Even if the offense isn't great, your pitching staff can carry you. And if they can continue to make a well-rounded team, I think it's certainly possible. I want to ask you about Ty Dane Gonzalez's trade package of Felton Celestin, Emerson Hancock, and Michael Morales for a Eugenio Suarez.
Yes.
Do you think that gets done?
Do I think that gets it done? It could. I would do it. I don't think I'm necessarily low on Felton Celestin, but if you are trading him now, it would be you were trading him at his lowest as far as his evaluation as a prospect. He has slipped out of Baseball America's top 100. He's fallen in the Mariners prospect rankings and just pipeline in general. There's been some conversations about his injury concern and his durability. How will he be able to stay on the field, and whether or not some of that is sapping his power. He's got a very high ceiling. He could be a Lindor-esque player if things do pan out. Is that a risk that you're willing to take for a chance to win the World Series in 2025 by acquiring Gino? Yeah, I think so. I'd rather them hang that banner than have Lindor in 8 years, where who knows what the pieces around him are looking like at that point. Mm-hmm. And that may be crazy to say, but I think that that's something that the way that this team is drafted and developed, he's not the only one. He is not the only player that's going to come through this prospect system, through this farm system, that has that high level, like the 100th percentile outcome. Colt Emerson's 100th percentile outcome is maybe Corey Seager, who has won 2 World Series rings and has been a World Series MVP. Like, it's not, I'm not hesitating on that trade. I'm getting that done. Hancock can go. I don't care. You have Logan Evans. He's better. And is Michael Morales? Don't care. Congratulations, 2024 minor league pitcher for the year for the Mariners. Have fun in Arizona.
Enjoy it, buddy.
I, as Colby would say, I would pack their bags for them.
Interesting to note that Teddy McGraw was scratched from an autograph signing yesterday.
Nothing with that yet.
Nothing heard about that, but that's a guy who's pitched really, really well this year, coming back from injury. Teams could be interested in Teddy McGraw. He was at one point the Mariners' top pitching prospect. Maybe there's something there. The Mariners need to make some additions because they have a really tough series coming up versus the Texas Rangers. The Rangers are hot on the Mariners' tail in the division. Obviously, they lost on Monday. The Mariners won, so the Mariners gained a game there. But nonetheless, the Rangers are a team that's going to be vying for a playoff spot, just like the Mariners are all of a sudden, because they went on some crazy 6-game winning streak. The Mariners need to add to this team, and hopefully they have it ready to go because that series starts on Thursday.
You're probably not guaranteed to have all the additions at that point, and that can be kind of scary, like where you're starting a big series, and if you have to make trades where you do trade from the major league roster, like say they trade a bullpen arm that's on the major league roster, like they trade, say, like Carlos Vargas randomly, right? Just randomly. Because teams could be interested. How does the bullpen fare in that situation? Like, there's definitely a lot of moving parts, but getting about 95% of the best team that I think we have fielded in the 2020s on the field against Texas in a 4-game set at home, that would be fantastic, if you will. It's so important that you go out there and take 3 of 4 in that series against Texas. With the way that they've been playing, you need to kind of like, hey, well, slow down. Stop. Please. Pause, sir. Because you can't let them catch you. You can't let them overtake. That gives them more momentum. That allows them to continue playing well into the second half. Of course, it's like 4 games of the remaining 50, but that's within the division. That's someone that's chasing you in the wild card. You don't want them to think that they can beat you. You need to show them that they can't, that you are still the better team.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a fun series. First series back home. I'm really excited that you and I aren't going to be able to catch any of it because we're going to be out of town.
Well, I mean, we'll be able to catch some of it on, the Root Sports streaming app.
That's true. And you could get the Root. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 212. Friendly reminder, we do have our 7-hour live stream going on Thursday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Be sure to stop in and say hi and react to all the trades with us. But we appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.